Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Montgomery County Taxpayers League for our meeting this evening with Chief of Police, Chief Mark Yamada. My name is Esther Wells, and I am the president of the Montgomery County Taxpayers League. Please check us out on our website at www.mctaxpayersleague.org or on our social media on Facebook, MCTL, on Twitter or X at MoCo Taxpayers, or reach out to me directly through email at presidentmctl@gmail.com. Joining us today is Gordy Brenny. He is our treasurer, and our board members, Ann Hingston, Joan Fiddler, and Lee Henry. So the objective of the Montgomery County Taxpayers League is to educate and advocate for county taxpayers. We support appropriate actions to achieve greater efficiency and effectiveness in Montgomery County government and tax equity for Montgomery County taxpayers. Our vision is focused on performance and outcome. We host presentations with local elected and appointed officials on topics which have an impact on the county's finances and consequently our taxes. We also take part in various public meetings and other advocacy. We have current open leadership positions and volunteer opportunities. So again, please reach out and get engaged. And so without further ado, I want to tell you about our guest, Chief Yamada. So Mark Yamada was sworn in as the 18th Chief of Police for the Montgomery County Department of Police. Chief Yamada is the first Japanese American to lead MCPD and assumed his new role on July 1st, following the retirement of Police Chief Marcus Jones. Chief Yamada has served more than 35 years of dedicated service with MCPD. He grew up in Wheaton, where he attended public schools before earning his Bachelor's of Science in Business Management and Marketing from Frostburg State University in 1987. Following a year of graduate studies, he joined the MCPD in August 1988, embarking on a distinguished career that spans multiple facets of law enforcement. Chief Yamada previously served as the Assistant Chief of the Field Services Bureau, the Special Operations Division, SWAT, K-9, SRT, Emergency Services, Unmanned Aerial Systems, Robotics, and many other sections within MCPD. His leadership has been pivotal since June 2021, ensuring the effective operation and coordination of these critical units. From November 2017 to June 2021, Chief Yamada commanded the 4th District Station in Wheaton area, overseeing patrol operations for more than 180 officers and 9 civilians. He previously directed the Community Engagement Division, enhancing community initiatives and relationships. Yamada's extensive experience includes roles as Duty Commander, Deputy Director of Major Crimes, and Lieutenant Deputy Commander of the 4th District Stations. So please help me welcome Chief Yamada. Thank you for joining us this evening to discuss MCPD and answering questions submitted from the community. We hope this meeting is the first of many conversations and engagement. How are you today?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm doing great. I appreciate the invitation. I really do. I enjoy these conversations. I think it lends itself to the communication piece is key for me. So it lends itself for me to make better decisions and provide the services to the communities that they want and that they deserve. So I truly appreciate the opportunity. And wow, the way you introduced me, it made me sound pretty important. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And congratulations again on being our first Japanese American chief and our 18th overall. We definitely look forward to your leadership in this county. And so we have some community questions that have come in that we will go through for our live audience members. If you have questions for our chief, please raise your hand, the virtual feature, and we'd be happy to alternate between our pre-submitted questions and questions that you may have. And so just taking from a high level, your vision, Chief. So at the County Council nomination hearing, you responded to the questions of your top 3 initiatives as Chief with the officer wellness, consolidation of units within MCPD, and technology, and a few others. Can you just share with the community as you take over this important policing in our community, your vision for changes or continuing what's working for MCPD?
Yeah, so thank you. So in terms of officer wellness, that's critically important for me. I think law enforcement nationally for an extended period of time has recognized mental well-being among law enforcement and first responders in general to be really important. However, I don't think that we've taken the steps necessary to ensure those things are moving forward in the right direction. So one of the things it's going to be my focus on officer wellness so far. I have established a relationship, and I learned about this through Lieutenant Upol with the Maryland State Police, so I want to give him credit. But the institution is called, or the facility is called Harbor of Grace, and it is located in Havre de Grace, Maryland. And what that is a facility designed specifically for first responders and offers them a wide range of counseling, mental well-being discussions, just all kinds of things. It's voluntary, but we have already in the last year since really I learned about it and started referring officers there, we have had a number of really positive success stories from sending officers there. And it's truly appreciated by the rank and file. They recognize that these steps are much needed and long overdue. To go along with that, I have already spoken with Captain Nick Paserno, who's in charge of our Public Safety Training Academy. And we're trying to, as you may or may not know, available space in Montgomery County is really hard to come by. So if I want to do something for the police department, if I need space to do it, like whether it's a warehouse or an office space, I have a really hard time finding anything, one, that's affordable, and two, that's available. So we're trying to repurpose already existing space at the training academy and design it to accommodate officer wellness. It will be a place where our rookies, where our officers, executives, our supervisors, our professional staff, anyone associated can go. It'll have an area designated for quiet time. We will have mental health professionals on site that will provide counseling services anonymously if needed. It's going to educate some of our officers as they enter into the academy on things like financial literacy, things that I learned about almost by accident during roll call in my first 5 years. For instance, things like our deferred compensation plan, flex spending accounts. We're going to offer things in terms of what's available for housing, loans, and things like that. All of these things can cause stressors on officers, and oftentimes it's gone unaddressed because we don't frankly know from the officers that they're feeling these pressures. So this space, and it's limited, so we have to really identify what we want to put in there. But hopefully it'll be a stepping stone in the right direction in terms of officer wellness. When I spoke about the Juvenile Assessment Center, as we all hear, juvenile crime, and not only crimes being committed by juveniles, but juveniles who are becoming victims of crimes, is on the rise, not only here in Montgomery County, but nationally. What we have, the idea behind the Juvenile Assessment Center, it's modeled much after our Family Justice Center, which is in Rockville, and they offer families assistance and resources in terms of domestic violence, custody issues, things like that. This will be directed towards juveniles and their families. We have a lot of resources spread throughout the county that are available. Sometimes it's very difficult for a juvenile, especially a juvenile who's not sharing this with his family, but oftentimes the family as well, to try to get to those resources, meaning they might live in the lower part of the county or East County, and the services are offered up in Germantown. And it's just by the fact that they can't get there that they don't get to the resources. So the Juvenile Assessment Center, it's in conjunction with HHS. It'll be a one-stop shop for the families. Hopefully the idea is they will have a family advocate that will be assigned to them that will facilitate things like transportation and where the resources are and how to get there, and follow up and tracking of the families, because oftentimes we get juveniles assistance and then lose sight of them at some point down the road. So this juvenile assessment center is just really, like I just said, a one-stop shop, much like the Family Justice Center, but it's designed specifically for juveniles and their families or their extended families, because we're seeing an ever increasing number of juveniles here in the county who might only have one parent or might have a guardian or be living with somebody, an extended family member, or possibly even somebody who's not related directly to the family. But we're not going to turn anybody away. And I think it'll help with the access to these resources for the juveniles. Hopefully, it is definitely an attempt to keep a juvenile out of the Department of Juvenile Justice System or the criminal justice system before any of that happens. So it's a prevention, a pre-screening, so to speak, or an effort to get help before it becomes a problem for these juveniles. When in terms of technology, I'm actively exploring the use of AI. And I know that's a scary thing for a lot of people, but it's a tool that I think we can, in law enforcement, use to our advantage. In particular, right now we have a policy that covers a random review of our body-worn camera. It's done by a group of officers, a captain, 2 sergeants right now. That's really all we could afford to put in there in terms of staffing. They review, I want to say, less than 2%, around 1% of all the body-worn camera videos that we create, that officers create. We're looking to have AI, and I know other agencies have done this successfully, be able to randomly review every single one of our body-worn camera videos. It won't be foolproof. We'll have to design policy around it. It'll be keywords and phrases, so to speak, but then it'll be followed up by a review of a supervisor or an executive. But that's just one of the ways AI is going to be able to help us, especially with the way staffing is. And it'll help us identify problems and trends and get in front of them so that we can take corrective action if necessary. We are also looking at enhancing our automated traffic enforcement unit programs designed around our cameras. We're currently trying to test cameras that will be designed not for speed or red light, but for distracted driving. So it will be able to photograph you as you go by in your car, and it'll see if you have your phone to your ear, or it will see if you're texting while you're driving, or it'll see if you do not have your seatbelt on. It'll be done in a way where your privacy is maintained. It won't show your face, anything like that, but we will be able to hopefully curb and change behavior, because distracted driving, as we all know, is a huge problem. Everybody, I think the vast majority of us on the roadway are guilty of it in some form or fashion at some point while we're driving. Also, the cameras besides speed and red light, we're looking at detecting loud mufflers. So it'll be like a noise camera. We're still experimenting with or looking at other agencies who have this technology. It's not as advanced as we like, meaning right now our speed cameras, if on a 3-lane road, we can pick out lane by lane the violations. A noise camera is not able to do that right now. So we're trying to wait for technology to advance to the point that we can try to get some of this in place. And again, I think I'm a firm believer that technology is going to be able to carry this department forward if we use it appropriately, constitutionally, have policies in place, and certainly share whatever needs to be shared information-wise with the public, so there's no questions or concerns. We recently started a Violent Crime Information Center. We call it VCI. I see other agencies call it Real-Time Crime Center. But all this helps officers on the street. It's combined with a program that's called FUSIS. Each one of these levels works right now with our Drones as First Responder program to provide exponentially more information, more effective police response, better ways to de-escalate, better ways to refer calls for service to other agencies outside the police department. All of these things will benefit our officers. We'll be able to avoid dispatching officers in some cases. Like I said, divert calls elsewhere. It'll provide our officers will be able to do what everyone in the community wants, including myself, and that's for them to make the best decision possible. It'll get the information to them far quicker. Right now, based on a call coming into ECC, it takes between 5 and 6 minutes to gather all the information. There's a certain required script that has to be followed when you call in and there's an emergency. Before the officer gets the information to start driving to the call, it takes like 5 to 6, 7 minutes. We can dispatch a drone within 30 seconds, and we can be on scene within 90 seconds. And then when you combine that with the fact that you get this information from our VCIC and the FUSIS program, it's like night and day between where we were a year ago and where we expect to be a year from now. We are also investing in a new RMS system, a report management system that will help us in the last 3 years since I've been an assistant chief. There have been demands for data in ways that you could have never imagined 5 years ago. Everybody wants data on absolutely everything. And some of our programs, we just have never been designed to collect the data that we're being asked for. So this new record management system, if we're able to push it across the finish line, will allow us to get this data out, share it publicly. It'll be accurate. It'll be timely. I think it will help with our transparency and building trust. And like I said, technology for me is going to be the way that we take this department. And I've said this before, we have a great department. Can we improve? Absolutely. And I think technology is the key, is going to be the key. And I'm going to be a big advocate for trying to push this, just like I did with the drones as first responder program. What we need from groups like yourselves, we need public and group advocacy. We are constantly, as a department, as an agency, and this goes for all law enforcement, we're bombarded by criticism, oftentimes by a very small group or a small number of people who claim to represent the community at large. When in actuality, if you really broke it down, I don't believe they do. So you're having these small groups speak on behalf of 1.2 million people. And I know that the community appreciates us. I know that they basically have trust in us, that they appreciate what they do. And it's contradictive to hear the other things come out and have it be presented to us so loudly sometimes that when people hear it enough times, they start to believe it as gospel, and it's just not the case. So that advocacy on your part, and I appreciate you all saying to me, what can we do? Because oftentimes at meetings, the only thing I hear is, what are you going to do for us in the community? And I love it when groups and individuals then turn around and say, well, I appreciate all that. What can we do for you as the police department? Keep in mind, we're the only group anywhere, public or private, where the only acceptable level of performance for officers has become perfection. If they make the slightest mistake, their name is in the paper, they're being disciplined, they're facing criticism. It has worn on them over the last 3 to 4 years to the point that this is, again, attributing to or contributing to the mental wellness piece that I spoke about before. I don't know how we correct that. We are not perfect. I'd be the first to admit it. I myself am not perfect. I'm gonna make mistakes. I promise to try my best to learn from those mistakes and not repeat them. And that's what I'm going to expect from my officers. If we do make a mistake and it's egregious, we're going to own it. We're not going to shy away from it. And I will hold our officers accountable for certain. But to expect perfection all of the time is, I think, going above and beyond what should be expected from the normal officer. We need to have these discussions like we're having tonight. We want to hear from our communities, and not only the bad things, which a lot of times, unfortunately, that's what happens. We only hear about things when we make a mistake. I can tell you, if you attend any of our award ceremonies, there are literally 50 to 100 things across the county that officers do that are absolutely phenomenal, that do not get recognized, that no one speaks about. But we do hear about the one thing that we do when we're making a mistake. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I think that's all I have for the first question there, Esther. So if you want to ask the next one, or if you want me to read it and then I'll answer it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much for that thorough overview of your vision. We do have one question in the chat from Harold. Maybe I'll toss it to him, and then we can alternate between the pre-submitted questions and the live audience. So Harold, over to you. Question.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Yamada, for your time. One question I had was, you've been in the force for a long time and you have an impressive resume, and we all wish you good luck in your new post. Given that information, what would you say is the prime impediment for the police department to do its job comfortably and with all the resources that it seeks in order to fight crime? Because I know crime has risen exponentially all over the county, as you pretty sure are aware of. So what is the biggest impediment you see going into your new post? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate that. And, again, I come back to a morale piece. Part of that is internal problems that I'm trying to address. I don't believe we communicate internally as effectively as we should, meaning we don't share information as freely and as openly with our own officers as I am going to attempt to do moving forward. We don't solicit input from them in all the occasions where we should, just like I like to solicit input from the community. But the big morale kicker for officers is, like I just spoke about, it's constantly hearing about all of the bad things we do, all of the negative things that we create, which then translates a lot of times, and this is a battle we have to fight internally, where the officer says, well, it's easier for me to stay out of trouble by doing only the bare minimum. And that's not a very good answer for me from our officers. So I am trying desperately to relay to them at every chance I can that there are communities, the vast majority of our communities believe in us. They want us out there. There were 2 studies that were done by the county executive, I think did one. And then some members of the county council put a phone survey out there, or a Teams call, where they were asked for input from the communities. Anyone could call in. And they said, what do you like about the police? What aren't we doing well? The overwhelming response in both of those surveys was, we want more police. We want to see more police officers. We want more traffic stops. When we constantly hear a lot of times, again, from the very loud minority number of people, that we want less police, that the police are only bad, things like that. So I try to message as many times as I can to our officers the amount of respect and the appreciation that the vast majority of our community has. Again, it comes down to that standard of perfection, which is very hard for some officers to grasp hold of. So that's one thing. Budget is tight for everybody. I'm not going to complain about the police department doesn't get its fair shake, but we are constantly forced with trying to do more with less. You combine that with the morale, with the negative rhetoric that you hear a lot of times, and it just compounds itself. So those things all contribute to, that's why we have a hard time recruiting officers. That's why we have a hard time putting officers in our academy classes, to try to regroup from the amount of officers that we're losing.
Yeah, no, great answer. Thank you so much, Chief. I don't know, Joan, did you have a follow-up to that question, or is it a new question? I see Gary's hand was raised. You have a new question? Okay, so I'll keep you in the queue. So I'll go to one of our pre-submitted questions, and then Gary, you will be next. So maybe I'll drop down to our county legislation question. So kind of in line with that live question from Harold. So Montgomery County Council Member Jawando previously introduced the STEP Act. However, Maryland State Attorney Brown struck down all but one piece of the bill as preemptive. The one surviving piece of the STEP Act is now the Freedom to Leave Act. Can you please talk to us about this bill and the implications it will have to public safety, such as getting fentanyl off the streets, illegal guns out of our communities? What steps has MCPD taken on a proactive basis to educate drivers and residents of their rights in regards to the purpose of the Freedom to Leave Act?
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's not one of the 12 questions you sent me, but we'll answer it as best I can. We are engaged in a council meeting on Monday about this very issue. I've had several discussions with Councilmember Jawando privately, just me and him. We agree to disagree on a lot of things, and I think that's okay. I think that's good. You know, one of the things that I can tell you is we as police officers, we want to be proactive. There are times when being proactive is appropriate to address crime trends, to ensure public safety, to address issues like we've seen in the downtown Silver Spring area, just to mention one area, and to take a tool that has been held up by the Supreme Court of the United States is very troubling. The county executive does not support this bill whatsoever. I think what we're trying to do with Councilmember Jawando, I've attempted to try to come to some sort of medium here. Can we come to some agreement? And right now, I can share with you my promise to Will was that right now we have a random review of body-worn camera. It doesn't really address consent searches, which this Freedom to Leave Act is specific to. What I promised him was I am willing to make sure that every consent search, there is a body-worn camera review of that interaction to ensure that the officer was acting constitutionally. It will be reviewed by his direct supervisor, and then at least one or two executives to ensure this. State's Attorney John McCarthy has shared with me, and he's going to come and speak at the council meeting on Monday, because I called and spoke with him. In the cases that he has reviewed that center around a consent search done by a Montgomery County police officer, he is by far and away impressed with how we conduct ourselves, how officers approach this, the manner in which it's done, the constitutionality around which we focus our actions. And that's what you're going to hear if you listen in onto the meeting. That's what you're going to hear from State's Attorney John McCarthy. You know, I can tell you that of the 40,000 traffic stops that we've done in the last year, there might have been 15 complaints total in the county around traffic stops. None of them, zero, have come across anyone's desk that allege any misconduct by an officer concerning requesting a consent to search. We have a retired judge at the police academy, Mike Algio, who conducts extensive training to incoming rookies, to existing officers, to our executive staff on constitutional policing. And that is what we profess. That is what we will continue to profess. Now, Councilmember Jawando has pointed out to me that just because there are no complaints doesn't mean there's an issue. You know, you take that for what it is, you know, but we have a policy in place where every interaction with the community, someone in the community, must be recorded on body-worn camera. We have a random review. We have a form that we created specifically to address the consent search. That must be completed by the officer, any officer who does a consent search. They represent a very small portion of the total searches that we do, contrary to what Councilmember Jawando has stated publicly. It's a very small percentage. I think we are doing things in the right way, and I am going to stand behind the fact that I believe asking for consent to search is a absolutely valuable tool for law enforcement officers to have in their toolbox in order to prevent and detect criminal activity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And so I'll turn over to Gary. Question for Chief. Gary, you're on mute if you're there. Okay, maybe I'll go to Joan and we'll come back to you, Gary. Joan, you have a question for the Chief?
Yes, I do. The question is, you mentioned some of your top priorities at the beginning of the meeting, and they're all laudable. The question really is, how are you going to measure that these priorities are actually working? And will you, do you have measures in place or some kind of process in place? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of them will work, a lot of them might not. And will you at that point be willing to change course? Because there's the tendency for us to continue with what we're doing rather than to reflect and change. So do you have metrics in place?
Well, when you talk about metrics, especially around something like mental health, how does anyone measure that success? I can tell you that we, just like I said, in the short time that we've referred people to Harbor of Grace and that we've instituted a wellness program in our training academy, we have seen a number of successes, meaning officers who have made a recovery from depression, family struggle, alcohol problem, anything like that. We have seen the successes. Are we able to share? Again, we're talking about things that are protected by HIPAA. What can I share? What kind of numbers can I share? I can just tell you, maybe I can, at some point we release like information on the number of referrals that we've made. You know, I don't know if I'm allowed to go into the specifics around what the results were of those visits or those referrals, but I'd be happy to share whatever I can. Technology, I can tell you, we have seen changes in driving behavior where our automated traffic enforcement units have been in place, and that's what we're looking to continue. You take bus violations for one example. We have cameras on all of our buses now. At one point early on, we were seeing 30. I'm making these numbers up, but we've seen, let's say there were 35,000 violations, which is an incredible amount of violations. It was something that was astronomical. Many were repeat violators. We have seen a dramatic reduction in the number of violations that we are issuing. So that is telling me that the cameras on the buses are doing what we're trying to get it to do, and that's to stop people from driving by a stopped school bus. We have percentages on that. Those are things that we have in place that we can show. The collisions that occur on our roadways are definitely lower in the areas where we have our speed cameras and our red light cameras. Those are things that we can show. And I think the expansion of that program will only continue to move those numbers in the direction that we want them to move. You know, some of the other things involved are going to be intangibles. I won't be able to have metrics on everything that we're doing. But as much as I can provide, if there's a specific question that somebody has, you know, I can try to get you the information. Again, we're constantly asked for data that we don't have it in the past normally collected. That's not to say we won't try in the future. We're making every effort to give everybody what they want to see. And as far as change goes, absolutely. I want to hear from the community. I want to get feedback from them on our whatever program we have, so that I can make the adjustments. Like I said, I do not want to provide police services in a way that the community does not want or does not need. And I need your help doing that. I need the help from the council. I need help from a wide variety of people to get that done. Hold on one second. I'm getting another phone call. So yeah, I mean, as far as change goes, if I were to say to anybody, nope, we're going to do it the way we've always done it, we're not going to make any changes, that would be absolutely ludicrous on my part. And I would never say that. I'm always up to making adjustments, tweaking on the fly after a given period of time, whatever the case might be. We've did that. We professed that, and we've done that with our Jonas First Responder program, and it's been hugely successful.
Awesome. I don't know, Gordy, did you have a follow-up to that question or a new question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Esther. Chief, I guess one of the metrics that we're all familiar with is what happens if we do call the 911 call center, and what is the response time? One of our pre-written questions, which I know you've seen, is a comparison to Fairfax County. And I'm curious, you mentioned a statistic earlier tonight saying that the response time varies, but approximately 5 to 6 minutes after the call center gets an initial call, you're able to dispatch a response team, a first response team. How does that compare to Fairfax? And are there technology opportunities there that Fairfax is exploiting and we aren't?
Yeah, a great question. Anytime, quite honestly, I haven't, up to this point, I've never dealt with our emergency communication system. It hasn't been under my purview, but it is definitely something that I'm looking at now. And just by the fact that you asked this question, my response is, yeah, I absolutely like the idea of considering the Fairfax 911 model. A workload analysis, we're trying to do one. Actually not trying, we've been trying for years, but my priority is to get that across, the workload analysis across the finish line as far as officers handling calls for service. I absolutely plan to, I wrote a note for myself, ECC workload analysis. I believe the call center down in Fairfax is a little bit larger, has a larger physical footprint than we have. Again, like I'm telling you, space here in Montgomery County is almost impossible to come by. And we are unfortunately constrained by that limited affordable space to make any sort of expansion or improvements. But if there is something that's anyone else in the country is doing that is better than what we're doing, I'm all about trying to adapt it or steal it from them. I have no shame in my game when it comes to things like that. If you're using it and it's working for you, I want to look at it. I want to know why. I want to understand it and see if I can apply it here in Montgomery County.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Awesome. So I think Gary may be having a little bit of trouble unmuting. And so we will come back to Gary once he's able to get that done. So maybe we'll switch the conversation to MCPS and the school resource officers. So a little background for participants. So on June 25th, last month, MCPS Board of Education approved the appointment of your predecessor, Chief Jones, as the Chief of Security and Compliance at MCPS. Can you give us some initial thoughts about the partnership with MCPD and MCPS? So there's a little bit more background. So currently there's a lot of high level of vacancies of officers with MCPD, and we're seeing higher cadence of threats of violence to our 211 MCPS schools, such as bomb threats, school shooting threats, etc. The community is also becoming more aware of fights and drugs occurring in our schools through video postings online. What are your thoughts regarding the current MOU for CEOs, community engagement officers, and should MCPS return to the SRO program? Do you have any concerns on meeting this need of SRO program due to officer vacancies?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very complex answer, but trying to keep it as concise as I can. Our partnership with MCPS has always been very good. We've never had a problem working together. The problem sometimes arises from there seems to be a disconnect with information sharing and then communication. And when I talk about communication, MCPS, as we all know, has undergone a tremendous amount of change in the last year. New superintendent. We had an acting superintendent for a period of time. They have decided to go a different direction in a lot of upper level positions, especially centered around school security. So we have sort of been in a holding pattern until the new superintendent got officially named and put in place. And now that Mr. Taylor is there, I have reached out to him to say, let's sit down and meet. The SROs or the CEOs, however you want to call them, That is going to be topic number one. What does the school safety environment look like? What is it going to look like moving forward? That is a conversation that I have to have with Mr. Taylor. They have obviously a vested interest in this. It's their institutions that we're talking about. But I also anticipate asking for assistance from the community. What does the community want to see? I hear a lot of times we want SROs or we want CEOs back in our schools full-time like they used to be. Does everybody say that? Absolutely not. I think there is value to trying to find that balance between having a police presence inside of a school building versus simply responding reactively. We can all probably identify the pluses and minuses. We do not take place. We have never taken part in any sort of school discipline. We defer to the schools on handling all of that. If it can be handled internally, we allow them to do that. There are certain things, certain crimes, where the school they can't do it internally. They have to call us. And in those instances, we come in. It is never the priority of anyone under the police department, from the patrol officer to the actual CEO who works closely with the schools to solve a problem by arrest. We do not want to do that. We constantly hear things like the school to prison pipeline. So I can share with you, in the last school year, there might have been 100 arrests. Let me just throw out an approximate number. 100 arrests made at a school facility. The SROs, the CEOs who I oversee, were responsible for one of those arrests, directly responsible for one arrest. And that was when they were at a school responding to another call for service where they witnessed a crime occur. So I can tell you, our officers are not designed to arrest anyone. That's not what we want to do at any level. I don't think it's productive. I don't think you can arrest your way out of these problems. But these are discussions that have to be had now with the new administration over at Montgomery County Public Schools, the police department, the county council, the county executive, and our community. Together, we're all going to contribute to what this safety environment is going to look like within the school system. I promise you, I'm not going to force anything on anyone that doesn't want it. I want it to be collaborative. I'm open to discussions and communications, and we will give the people what everyone feels is the best balance, if that makes sense. I heard you mention, Esther, the shortages that we have in officers. Currently, right now, I'm staring down the barrel of 197 vacancies. Now, I have roughly 22 officers in the academy, and we don't count that towards those vacancies yet because they're not sworn. So hopefully, if they were to all graduate, and typically they don't all graduate, you can take 197 and deduct 22 from that number. But we're looking at a considerable number of vacancies. I don't right now have any alarming concerns. When it comes to Montgomery County Public Schools, we've always been able to work through a lot of the disconnects that we've had in a very amicable fashion. I expect that to continue, especially with Chief Jones, the retired Chief Jones over there. He's very familiar, obviously, with how we operate. We're obviously familiar with him, so I think that'll be a plus. We have typically focused our efforts around high schools. And quite honestly, I think we would be better served if we were able to focus more of our attention towards the younger kids, middle and even elementary school. We meet a lot of resistance from PTAs, from various parents who have concerns about wanting to allow police officers to interact with their kids. And I understand that, but I think there's a benefit to getting to kids at a younger age. Oftentimes, once they get to high school, they really have kind of cemented or formulated a very strong opinion on who they are and what they want to be and who they want to hang out with. If I can get to them at a younger age, I think that's going to enhance our chances to have a better relationship with a lot of these juveniles. And again, I go back to what can you guys do? If there's any one of you who are on a PTA panel, you want us to come speak at your school, we'd be more than happy to come in and visit and talk to you. And if you want to center that discussion at a PTA meeting around this program, be more than happy to send people over and have that discussion with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Chief. And again, to the participants, if you have questions for the Chief, please raise your hand and we'll be happy to get to you. We do have a hard stop at 8, so maybe we'll take a few more questions. One of the last pre-submitted questions that I thought maybe from a public safety standpoint would be good is on road diets. So I know this came up when I guess as background for the fire chief, but I thought it was relevant here to elevate to the community. And so Montgomery County has been narrowing roads and replacing them with bike lanes and bus lanes. Has there been changes? Has these changes impacted MCPD's response rate and ability to get to a call for help? Do you anticipate challenges with officer response rate due to narrowing lanes, lane reductions, and master plan changes?
Generally speaking, for us, the impact is much less than it is on fire rescue. They tend to operate much larger vehicles than we do. I know specifically in talking with Chief Cooper, this was before Chief Smedley was named, but in talking to their chiefs, you know, Kentlands, Rio, King Farm, and up in Clarksburg, they have problems already existing in some of those neighborhoods. So further narrowing of roads, I think, creates more of a problem for fire rescue than it does for the police department. But again, I trust my partners in SHA and MCDOT to find ways to design our roads so that, one, we have that balance between first responder response and road safety. You know, that's the best answer I can give you on that one.
Okay, perfect. And so I see, Crystal, you had a question or a comment for our chief. Please go ahead, Crystal.
Yes, I just wanted to give a thank you to the officers of District 6 working to make our community safe. I am the co-chair, and actually the chair is on this call as well, as of the Cider Mills Residents Association. And we work very hard to get the community back the way that it was. And they're still working with us. So I just wanted to let you know and just give a mention that they're still working with us and very commendable. So thank you.
Can't tell you how much I appreciate hearing that. Hopefully you don't mind. I'm going to share that. Absolutely. One of my notes back to the district commanders, not only up in 60, really everyone, I want everyone to hear things like that. And we're going to continue that effort. My promise to you all. You know, we're looking at an up county DFR site, which I think we will allow us to get to the Cider Mill area from a location that would be closer to downtown Gaithersburg. But I think we'll be able to get up there. We just have to get that site finalized and then do some testing and see where it'll come. But I think that DFR program up there will help even further with police response times, with de-escalation, with all the things that we've already mentioned with the DFR program. We'll be able to see that realized in the up county area, which is it's big for us.
That is so great to hear. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. And Gary, I think you were able to unmute. Are you there, Gary?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Please go
Hello,
ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes, you can,
Yes,
Gary.
konnichiwa. Konnichiwa, Yamada sensei. I don't know if you remember me. I was that samurai guy at Evans Parkway and George Avenue when you were the captain at District 4.
I do, Gary. I remember you were heavily involved in karate training with the kids and things like that. Yep.
Yeah, I guess my biggest concern is a video that's on YouTube called Last to Get Knocked Out Maryland Hood Edition, where these pop-up fights are happening on Montgomery County school property, and somebody's going to get seriously hurt. There's an 18-minute video under that name. It has a couple of the local schools. 7 minutes into the fights that are happening, you see a kid pull out a gun. They say it was a fake gun, but I think it was a ghost gun. They're chasing people around. People stop him and make him fight. He didn't want to fight. They don't wear mouth guards. There's no supervision. There's no rules. It's just people getting out there with boxing gloves on and just whacking each other. This was brought to my attention by a teacher who works with the special needs kids at the middle school he works at. And what he's telling me, his kids are signing up for this or getting involved because just for the fact that they're involved in this, all of a sudden they become alpha. All of a sudden they're not nerds and geeks anymore. And I've been involved in the martial arts for, 52 years. I've been teaching for over 30 years, and somebody's going to get seriously hurt. You know, I've tried to contact Montgomery County schools about this, and they just don't want it happening on their property, because if it is, they have to do something about it. But I'm very concerned about this because, you know, it's all fun and games until somebody gets seriously hurt, and it's just a matter of time.
Right.
You know, a blow to the face or the jaw without using a mouth guard, you're talking a couple $1,000s worth of dental work. Not to mention, you know, I have some training in Kyosho Jitsu about pressure points. There are many on the head that, if struck, can cause paralysis. And, you know, even if you think about the concern now with football players and their helmets, and, you know, the idea of taking strikes to the head, you know, I've been involved in it for so long. I used to compete. I've gotten hit in the head a lot of times. So that's my excuse when I go into a Joe Biden moment, you know, been hit in the head too many times. But this is serious for young kids. They're minors. There's no supervision. There's no rule.
I think a lot of what is put on social media is disturbing. I think any self-respecting parent or adult, I've even heard my own kids comment, what is on social media oftentimes is very disturbing. I can tell you, I've had conversation with the previous acting superintendent of Montgomery County Public Schools. They have not mentioned to me incidents that have occurred on their campuses. Do they occur somewhere? I have full confidence that they probably do somewhere. If somebody knows about it, they should report it. We can try to respond.
And that's it. I have.
But
I've been over a year trying to get MCPS to respond. And it's like the bullying in schools. They deny it's happening because if they admit it's happening, they have to do something about it.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Gary, for sure. We only have 5 more minutes with the chief, but maybe I'll give him the last word and then we will.
Chief, I would like to talk to you on I have an alternative. I don't know if you're familiar with Yamada. It's actually a modern version of kendo, padded weaponry where kids can do.
Mr. Latanzio, if you want to send,
but I'd like to get some kind of contact information from you.
Yes, for sure.
So all my information is on the website right now. I'd be happy to pass it along to Esther, and actually she has my email.
Yes.
But if you want to send me an email, I'd be happy to hear out what you have.
For sure. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you, Gary.
That would be great.
Thank you. And I see, so we have about 4 more minutes left, and we want to give Chief the last 5 minutes words. Maybe I'll go to you, Harold, for a quick either follow-up or question, and then you, Adama, and then we will close.
Yes, thank you, Esther. One final question, Chief, is we have a lot of crime from has been perpetrated by illegal aliens. Do you have any specific plan to tackle that problem?
So we do not ask or inquire about anyone's immigration status from a law enforcement standpoint. You know, when we identify a crime that's been committed, if we can make an arrest, we do. We then turn that individual over to the Department of Corrections, and if there is any connection to ICE that is made through the Department of Corrections, it does not come from the Montgomery County Police Department. But we frequently meet with executives from Immigrations and Customs. We communicate back and forth. But as of right now, currently, we do not inquire about anyone's status for any reason whatsoever. I'm not sure I'm answering your question. Do I see an increase in crimes being committed by that particular group? Again, I would have no reference. It's not indicated in a report anywhere. It's not captured in any sort of documentation that the subject is here illegally and then has been arrested. It's just not something that's captured currently by the police department.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Chief. And last question to you, Adama. It's about 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Esther. And I would like to thank also Chief. I just want to add with what Crystal said, that we are here at Cider Mill. We are so grateful to work with the District 6 officers that, work hard to make our place very safe. Also, I wanted to add on the MCPS fights. We would like to have like a more program at, I'm the PTA president also at South Lake Elementary School. So if we can have like a program where they can come and talk to the kids about bullying, about fight, to try to tackle it from the elementary school before they go to middle school. We would love to have those kind of program at South Lake. Thank you.
Yeah, we would absolutely entertain coming to the elementary school. Now, I don't know, but I would say that the school administration, if we receive the invitation, we will come. But I would imagine you're going to have to make sure that that's what the parents want, that's what you vet it through the PTA. And as long as everybody, hey, you don't have to send your kid, you don't have to listen to the conversation if you don't want to come, but we're going to have this. And if that's okay with that school community, we would be more than happy to come out there and speak with everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so definitely thank you so much again, Chief Yamada, for so quickly accepting our request to meet with us. Congratulations again on being our chief. And so I just want to give you the final word. How can we, as the Taxpayers League and as the community, help you as you take over our police department and helping us to just enjoy our community and have better public safety?
Yeah, again, it's that public advocacy, that group advocacy. I'm not asking you to fly a flag or take out an ad on TV and tell everybody how great the police department is. But if it comes up in conversation and you can offer any sort of positive input into the conversation in your particular interactions with the police department or a particular officer that people have mentioned, please share that. I think that is extremely, you don't understand. I don't think people understand how one particular pat on the back can make to an entire group of officers. Because we don't hear it a lot. The one thing I can also suggest is if anyone is interested, we have the Citizens Academy available. It's a time commitment, but if you're interested in learning more about the police department, and maybe take some of that information away to help us improve, either offer ways that we can improve or take that information back to your group as a whole or in a larger arena and say, hey, this is what I learned and this is what I've seen with the police department. I would encourage people to do that. And then there are different advisory boards that have been created that I would also suggest if you have any interest in the discipline process or having an effect on policy. A lot of these groups are designed to do that. And quite frankly, we could use people. I think the best decisions that are made are made by people who don't all think the same way, don't all come from the same background. That to me is diversity. It doesn't just center around the color of your skin or your gender. It extends well beyond that, your life experiences, things like that. So if you think you can contribute in a positive way to any of those, manners that I described, please, I invite you to do so. And then, like I say, I think in order, I'm going to do everything I can to not only say I heard you, because I think if I just looked at everybody and said, I heard what you said, I think that sells me short. I think that sells you short. I'm going to do everything I can to listen to what you say. I'm going to listen to how you said it, and I'm going to try to figure out why you're saying it, so that I can have a better understanding of what is being said. And I think with that understanding, and it goes both ways. So whatever you all can do to better understand the officer, the department, the district that you live in, I think it will benefit everybody. One thing I would ask is, if you do not know the district that you live in, or you do not know who your district commander is, I would urge you to figure that out. If I can help you do that, I will. But you can also have these conversations at the district level. It doesn't have to come up to me. That's much more intimate. They work directly with the communities that you're going to live in, that they associate with, that their officers patrol. I think anything like that improves, like I said, this level of understanding that we need to have in order to be effective.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. And we are at time. So I thank you everyone for joining the Montgomery County Taxpayers League as we host Chief Yamada. And so hopefully you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I appreciate that. If I could ask you, if there's something that we didn't address tonight that people have as a follow-up, send it to me in an email and I'll get you an answer.
Perfect. Will do. Thank you, Chief. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
Thank you very
Esther.
much, everyone.
Thank you.